This is the 21-inch Troy-Bilt with the Honda motor that's been with me for 10, almost 11 years. I've never had one single issue until the other day when I went to start it first for the season. And the baling cable is seized, and I couldn't unseize it. So I had to go to work and remove the old one and replace it with the new one. So I'm going to make a video just to show you how to do that. But that baling wire is essentially what allows you to start this mower and run the mower. Removing the end typically requires a set of pliers to get these clips pinched in from here so you can pull this back through the bracket and slide it out, which then frees this piece up so we can pull it out of the control arm. And that frees up this piece of the wire, and you can see where the wire is frayed and where the parts are broken. This wire, of course, travels up the handle to the top, and if you look carefully up at the top, you can just see exactly how it's wired in, much the same as the bottom. There's a piece in here and here. This piece needs to come out, which is just a small bracket to hold it to the handle, and then the piece slides out of the arm, and you can see some of the characteristics are the same. So let's just open this up. And let's see if this is the same. And in fact, it's an exact match. And okay, let's see if we have a good fit. I'm in the mechanism. Next step now is to place this piece in, snap it into the bracket. If you can see, those two ears are doing their work. Now let's go up to the top. Well, as I said, the part is from China. It's the right part number, but the cable is too long. The cover's not, but the cable is. So this bracket here will not quite fit in here until this stretches out. However, the baling handle is working perfectly. And if you look down here and you look at the mechanism itself, you see how it's pulling? And that's exactly where we need to start this. So let's see if this is accurate. We can start this mower and get it ready for the next step. Get some gas. Let's give it a start. So it was just that little valve that was getting in my way. Now, the next step is to put this back on the lift and take a look at the filter, take and check the oil to see if it needs to be changed, look at the blade to see if it needs to be sharpened, and then I'm going to examine the deck to see if it's safe or if it needs to be transferred to another deck. Be right back. No sooner did I turn the camera off than I learned that my niece, who just started a business and has her own apartment, responsible for cutting the lawn. She needs a lawnmower. This will be perfect because I think it's seen better years as far as heavy duty goes. But let's take a look then. We have to see what maintenance it needs. We'll take a look at the air filter first, then we'll check the oil and check the blade for sharp. Air filter is pretty easy, just popping below these two brackets. It's the carburetor back there. Fairly clean in here, but let's take a look. Yeah, if you look at the filter, I don't have a replacement. It's a holiday weekend. I'm not going to be able to go down to Lowe's and buy one. So I'm going to take a stiff brush to this and we'll see how it looks. You brush it off and let's take a comparison shot and see if we can't at least make this thing serviceable. All right, and I'll come right back and show you what I found. I just went with the handheld camera here to show you what happened as I brushed this filter out. I just used a plastic brush, like a number 8 brush, I think they call it, from Harbor Freight. But take a look at the dirt that came out. See how fine it is? It almost looks like sawdust that's coming out of that filter. And if you take a close look at the filter, I still got some work to do, but I'll have this where it's serviceable. If you see how this side is lighter than this side, this is what was in front of the carburetor. So I'm going to flip it, poor man's trick, to this side where there's more filter element that's cleaner for when it goes back in. But I just wanted to show you this before I reinstall it. Now spritz the carburetor just to make sure everything's clean in there. I'm just going to hit this with a little engine degreaser and clean it up before I put that back on there, just to make sure, you know, it's clean and looks good, it probably works good. And like I said, I'm going to put it in backwards so I can put the cleaner side of the element closer to the carburetor. Side of the equation. And then we'll pop this back in. And we'll call that side of the engine done. And now we're just going to check the oil, and I suspect it's pretty dirty, and we're probably going to have to change it at least. I did change it last season, so we'll see on this if that's what we're going to do. But yeah, if you take a look at the dipstick, it's dirty, but not that dirty. A little gray, but I just changed it last year, so I think it's good. It's up above the level. It's got the right spec oil in it, so I think we're just going to go with this. Again, I maintain things pretty well, so they usually don't need anything when I'm ready to give them away. But if I did, first, when you're going to touch the blade, you have to disable the spark mechanism. This is where people lose hands, no doubt about it. So I'm just going to take off the boot. There we go, revealing the spark plug. I think a 13/16 inch ratchet should do it. And usually just one good hard turn to free it up. And then just this is a cheap handle to get it out. This will give us... Now, it looks like it's dry. It's not wet, this back here. So, but that's a little bit of carbon burn on there. But geez, I'm going to clean up the contact area just to make sure. It didn't give us a hard time, and I'll wipe it down. But I'm just going to run a quick piece of sandpaper through that later. But right now, I'm just going to lay this into the boot and move it off to the side until we get a good look at that blade. As I suspected, the cutting edge on the blade, it's dinged up pretty good if you can see it. And again, I feel very safe because the spark plug is out, so I'm not going to turn this engine over. But if you look, you can see right here that this blade probably needs a good sharp edge. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to use my torque. I got a big wrench. I'm going to bust this thing off. I'm going to get it over into one of the mild bench vices and see if we can put a 30-degree edge on this, and then we'll put it back on. So when you're taking a blade off, it's a little tough on a table like this. But when you're taking a blade off, you want as much leverage as you can. Just so you don't struggle with it. I don't want to struggle with it. You could use a block of wood. You could use a lot of things to make sure. But if you think about it, I've got this giant wrench here to turn this, and I just got to put my hand against it, and we're able to do that. It's got a small retaining bracket on it, And again, see, you can't do this safely when you don't have that spark plug taken out. And you need the big lever. You should want the big lever when you're putting it back in, just to get the same amount of torque that was on the blade when it came out. And pay attention to how the blade came out of this mechanism. One, this piece, these dimples are facing in, if you can see that. And they lock into corresponding holes that are in the blade. And then of course the screw, and that comes out. We know when we go to reinstall this, that this is the side that faces the ground, and that's the side that faces the machine. But take a look at the blade. You can see. So we're going to go ahead and see how smooth we can make this. We'll see what we can do. I'm going to use a Hercules 4.5-inch disc. I believe it's a 7-amp grinder, which is really perfect for grinding out wheel blades, or mower blades, excuse me, and other light duty jobs. But overall, this thing's designed for grinding, and essentially we can call it polishing. So let's just plug it in and let's power this thing up. For what it was. There's a few heavy nicks that were in here that I'm just going to run a brush over, and I'm going to give you a file, but overall this looks pretty good. I'm just going to do the back of it just to smooth it out a little bit, and I should be ready to do the other side. Okay, both sides of the blade are done and it's ready to go. I filed it off, I deburred it, made sure it looked as good as it could look for what it was. Again, it's a charity project. It doesn't need a new blade in the sense that it's pretty strong. And so now it's just time to put it back on the machine, and we'll call this mower. Okay, time to put the blade back on and see how we did here. Remember, the grass side is the mower, or the lawn side. This is the piece with the tab, if you can see that, if it's not too close, that fits in this way into those pilot or guiding holes to lock the blade in place twice. It locks in place with these two holes and these two mounting brackets, and then it mounts again in place with these two holes in this bracket. Once we've established that, then we can pop this back in. And let's do as much by hand as we can before we have to torque this thing on. The hand's always better than the tool, for as long as you can get away with it. So now we can just turn and tight. Once we start to torque the blade, now we're ready to tighten it up. So here we go. And again, I'm working on about quarter turns so I can feel this go in the way it's supposed to. You almost can't feel how much torque you're putting on this thing with an extension this long. Again, it's a Harbor Freight tool, and it's, if you could see, the no-slip handle from Pittsburgh, 2 foot long. I mean, this is a nice unit. Couldn't ask for better than that. So the blade's back on. We're ready to go. We'll put our tools away and clean up that spark plug, and then we'll come back and we'll get this thing started up. Make sure. Okay, cleaning the spark plug, not a big deal. I guess the best way to do this is just show you. I'm just trying to get the contact points in there uniformly metal to metal. So it's really just as simple as taking a nail file or something as simple as this, and then so the spark can jump, I just clean up the rest of the back, and it's ready to go. Let's reinstall it. tight, switch it. All right, it's on tight. Okay, sharpen blade, check the oil, clean the air filter, put a new baling wire, or for the engine brake on there. It's clean, wheels are good, blade is freshly sharpened. So let's just see if it starts. Alright, so that's the end of our very first project that we got a chance to film, as opposed to the other one that I sold before I could even film it. But I think this will make a great mower for as many years as she wants it.